Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast. We got a special guest today, but as always, my partner in crime on this podcast.
What's up, Jeff? It's Steve Foster here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are things with you?
Oh, fantastic.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Well, we got our special guest. He's on for, I don't know, more than the second time. He goes by the moniker Mr. Steel on Zoom. It's the one and only Zack Jones. Zack, how you doing?
Hey, thank you. I'm doing great. And a shout out to, now his name escapes me. I had it in my mind, the guy who came up with Mr. Steel. I'll think of it while we're talking. But anyway, that I didn't come up with that name. That name was given to me by someone else.
Wasn't it Jeff Wooten?
Jeff Wooten. That's the man.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
And don't feel bad about forgetting stuff because, you know, to this day, I'll never live down the fact that, you know, I talked about in an earlier podcast, one of the greatest shooters of all time, and he's got so many accomplishments, and I went, and then it was just dead air.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then I made up about 25 names. I think 26 I got it.
For the record, that's Rob Latham. Okay, well, Zack, you know, we talked to Mike last episode on the World Speed Shoot 2020, and wanted to talk a little bit more about that match with you, but from your perspective, because there's a lot of things that you do at this match. It's the biggest match that's been put on for the last 3 years, and what it takes to put on a match this size. I mean, you're not the only guy involved, but you're definitely involved in it from, you know, the very beginning. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's fine. And it's true what Mike said last week is that it really is a team effort.
Oh, absolutely.
I do the registration stuff. Jake and Michael Brooks handle all the sponsorship stuff. And then there's some people that you never see, such as Heather from the home office that we work with. Like if somebody needs a refund, then she handles that. So there is a big team that goes into putting this match on.
Well, you know, the Steel Challenge World Speed Shoot is your guys' baby, and, you know, they always say it takes a village to raise a child, and it absolutely does. There are a number of people from, you know, as you pointed out, the home office, yourself, the people on the ground, all the ROs, everybody who had any involvement in the match. I would just like to say thank you because it went off great. Everybody at the CMP, I mean, there's a lot of people at the CMP who are involved, and driving around and making sure that waters are out there. Water was definitely a valued commodity as far as it was used a lot, and I never went to a cooler and there wasn't full, so that was appreciated from my perspective. Steve, what do you think of the match? Steve?
Oh, I thought you were talking to Zach.
No.
I just was trying to get this baby analogy in my head. I was preparing to ask Zach, you know, hey, there's some good times with baby, so what do you think the couple of good times were at the match? And then let's talk about the dirty diaper. What did go so well? That's where my head was at, Jeff. So I had a blast at the match, but let's talk about Zach. What do you think are one of the two things that went extremely well at the match from your perspective?
Well, okay, first off, I'm going to step away from being part of the match staff and be a dad for just a moment. The best thing that happened at the match for me this year was my son, Zack Jr., shot the match. And last year was his first time being there. He didn't shoot. He just worked the match. And Mike Foley and Troy and Jake said, you're going to shoot this match with us next year. So Zack was like, okay, sure. And so this year he did that. He shot it on a squad with Mike, Jake, and Troy. And I didn't shoot that particular squad because I was doing the registration stuff, but I did come down and watch as much as I could. And he ended up shooting 8 personal bests at the match. So as a dad,
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So as a dad, I couldn't be more proud of him than knowing that he accomplished it. I, on the other hand, didn't shoot any personal best, so that's the dirty diaper, Steve.
That's awesome. It was great seeing Zack Jr. there. He played a pivotal role. I know he was helping out shuttle people to and from, and even diving into the award ceremony. He was a bouncer in his former life because nobody was getting through that door unless their name was called. So it was great seeing him. I will say, though, I was a little bit sad. I didn't get to see your better half, Donna, again, but hope she's doing well, and I look forward to seeing her soon.
Oh, well, thank you. And she is doing well. Or as I say, when everybody says, how's Donna, my typical answer is mean as ever, which, a joke.
Just to be clear, Donna, Zack said that, not Jeff or Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Zack.
That's right. She knows, because I'll say it in front of her. But no, in talking a little bit about her, there's some things that probably a lot of people don't know, and I'll share that with you guys and with the listening audience, is that last year after the World Speed, a few weeks later, she actually suffered a mild stroke, and she's recovered from it completely, and she's been cleared to shoot if she wants to. But with everything, the uncertainty of COVID and all, there's high risk and then there's higher risks. And we just felt that it would be better for her to take this year off. I mean, there's going to be, plenty more world speed shoots, but there's only one of her. So I'd rather her skip a year and come back next year and, be there and helping out doing registration and things that she does.
No, that's a wise choice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There better be a lot more because I got to make it to super senior.
No, yeah. There's going to be plenty.
Well, we know where it's going to be for the next 3 years. Again, for our listeners or those people that haven't listened yet or aren't on any of the Facebook groups or basically living under a rock, the World Speed Shoot home for the next 3 years will be the CMP Marksmanship Park at Talladega. And next year it will be April
14th through the 18th.
Through the 18th. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I got a confession. I'm not
it.
sure if I should share this with Zach on the phone. Something happened to me at the World Speed Shoot, and I kind of looked to the right, looked to the left, didn't see anything like broken, so I kept it moving. But, Zach, I got to come clean. So I'm over there walking around like a boss with my range tactical gear cart and use discount code Steve Foster for 10% off. Sorry for the quick plug. But there was like some wires hanging down with some antennas. I wasn't range tactical gear Diva umbrella proof, so I did snag it a little bit. I didn't rip anything down. I didn't hear any crackles. So what did I run into?
Okay. What that was is, well, let me go back just a little bit. When they decided to put the tent city where accelerators normally set up, that meant that I needed to come up with a better approach for the Wi-Fi coverage. So what we ended up doing was the access points that we have for the one that goes on outer limits and the one that would normally be on accelerator, we hardwired those instead of just using what they call mesh technology. And so to do that, we had to run a cable. And so that's what you ran into was a Ethernet cable that was providing power to that access point that was attached to the shelter there. So we watched out. We tried to get it as high off the ground as we possibly could, but over time the cable started to sag and things like that. So fortunately, no harm was done, and the scores kept getting posted like they should be.
Oh, thank goodness, because if I would have broke something, I would have said Jeff Jones pushed my cart.
Let's touch on, I was going to say, let's touch on the technology a little there, Zach. For those that may not have noticed it, and you may not have noticed it until you got home or got on your phone or got on your email program after the match, as soon as you shot a stage and the approve button was hit, and within a very small amount of time, I received an email of my stage scores with the string times and the total time. That was pretty darn cool. How is that accomplished?
Okay. That's a feature that's built into the iOS version of Practice Score. That's why I use the iPads, because I really like that feature. Just to give you a little background, when we come to the match, there's a reason why we drive a Honda Pilot, and that's because we bring so much junk with us. I bring 24 iPads because I have 8 in the morning, 8 in the afternoon, and then I have 8 spares, which probably don't need 8 spares, but I have them, so I bring them. So what happens is you enable a feature that's called score logging. And because we have live internet at the CMP, what happens is when you hit approve, the file is sent to what they call the score log server, and that's basically the email information. And so the score log server that's a part of Practice Score is what actually sends out the email. So all along, if you noticed, on every single shelter, there was either a large rectangle-looking access point or a smaller one with rabbit ear antennas. And so the way it works is each access point can talk to another access point along the line. And so all of that feeds back to the main access point there that's under the little shelter where Zack and I normally hang out. And then that's where we have our internet connection, which is actually provided through a cellular modem that USPSA provides. So you can thank USPSA for that feature in a way, because if we didn't have it, what would happen is they would be queued up on the tablet until I got to some other real Wi-Fi where I had internet connectivity. Then they would be sent out in mass. But that's a really neat thing, because last year Rick from USPSA headquarters was shooting the match with us, and he asked me to videotape him. And literally, as soon as we finished shooting and I hit stop to record, by the time I could walk from there back to the shelter, I saw the email pop up on his screen that he got his scores.
And that also syncs it back to the main master tablet as well, correct?
No.
No.
That I still have to pull the scores from the individual stage tablet, but that's the beauty of the way it's set up there at the CMP, is with everything in a long line and with all the access points, I can literally sit where we sit and pull scores from all 8 stages without having to go down to each stage and wait until there's an opportunity to pull scores. I can pull scores, and that's why most of the time, as soon as the match or one of the flights is over, scores are posted up on Practice Score, because when I see squads moving, I'll go and pull scores because I know that the range officers aren't busy running shooters.
Excellent. So for those people that are listening that, run some major matches, this is some pretty cool technology. And I'm sure Zack would be more than happy to talk to you. His email is zack@uspsa.org, and give you the rundown, because I have to admit, a lot of us, many times I would be like, oh man, I didn't get my scores from 2 stages ago. Just go right to my email and they're right there.
Yeah, and it's Zack with a K, by the way, not H.
There you go.
Yep.
In Zack, also, I would imagine another side benefit to that is if there's any sort of arbitration or people that are contesting their scores, they have it and they can do it immediately until, waiting until after the match is over. So I think that's an added benefit.
It is, and a number of times people would come over and say, "Ups, on this particular stage, they accidentally scored my, say, RFRO on RFPO."
Sure.
That did happen, and we were able to resolve it in a timely manner so that, somebody ended up not having to wait till the end of the match and saying, oh, well, my scores are wrong, let's fix it. We were able to fix it before. Basically, between flights, we were able to get it resolved over lunch. So.
Well, see, I think that's what happened. I think Neil Norman actually shot PCCO and they scored it on his RFPI, or Norm Neal.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, one other question before we leave the technology.
Sure.
I may need an insider track on this because I tried password. I love Prez Mike. I put in beards are sexy, but I couldn't. What's the password, man, so I can hook up on that thing so I can surf the web while I'm shooting?
But that's not why we're there. We're not there to be surfing the web, dude. That's after the match.
How do you go Facebook Live? Come on.
Exactly.
I got to use my cellular?
Okay.
I know, right?
Look, now think about it, Steve. We're there at the match. What are we using to score? Practice score. So wouldn't you think I love practice score would be a good password?
Ooh.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah.
I tried Jake is my boo. I tried a bunch of things. I couldn't crack it.
Yeah.
El Prez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach is now writing on a whiteboard to Zack Jr. Go change the password.
Yeah, exactly. To-do list for 2021. Change password.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe.
Go ahead with that again, Steve. You kind of broke up.
Sorry, I said maybe password would be the safest play at this point in time.
Ooh,
yeah,
hide in plain sight, right up front.
Use that at
right.
sign, instead of the A.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Zach, again, registration, people are checking in, making sure their USPSA number is set correctly. They're shooting the right guns, and people change them, I'm sure, at the match. And when you think about it, for one person doing that, it's probably not so bad. But it's probably got to be a little bit of work for you to have to do all that consistently instead of just checking people in. What are your feelings about that?
Well, some changes are easy to make and others aren't. If it's just a simple matter of changing a division, that's easy. You just go into the tablet and change it. And the only thing I have to do is not only change the division, but change their class. If they know what they're classified in the new division, then I can change that. If not, what I'll do is I'll set their class to U, and then at the end of that flight, I'll run the classification update. And that way, when the scores are posted, they'll be in the right class.
And that's probably why we don't put our class in when we sign up.
Well, I don't ask for classification when we sign up for a couple of reasons. That's one. The second one is I know that there's a huge rush to get registered, and so that's another field that I don't need that value at this time. So why should I ask you for it?
Gotcha.
Then the other thing is once I download the match onto the tablet and everything, it's a matter of pressing one button to download the classification update file and update everybody's classification in the match at once instead of, you putting it in at the time of registration, and then by the time the match rolls around, if things go well for you, it's likely you're going to be in a different class anyway, unless you're already a GM. So, the potential for the class data to be outdated from the time you register to the time the match starts, I don't need it.
Gotcha. Now, how does that work? Because, again, this match, towards the end there, you must, within about 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it happens to be, you've probably got to do something where you're going in and looking at, how many awards are we going to actually give out? Is that something you guys have to do?
We do. And what we do is, Jake will say, okay, I need a list of this, and Mike will need a list of how many are registered by division and things like that. So I'll download the match on the practice score and then run the classification update and say, okay, well, as of this date, we have so many seniors, so many juniors, so many preteens, and all that for each of the categories. And then we do the same thing for each division and each class. And so I have a spreadsheet that I update whenever they want the updated data and send it to them. And so, because there's lead time for ordering the plaque and trophies, we have to have a cutoff date. Say, okay, we're going to base everything on registration as it stands right now. And so, we do that, and then they order it, and everything shows up at the match, and then we give out what we have. If we don't have an award, like this year, we owe a medal to Timothy Guerrero, and that's on the way. We have to order that after the match.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I went into the opposite of that for one of the senior divisions I shot. The day I shot it, there were 6 seniors in the division, but by the end of the match, there was only 4. And I don't know what the rule number is, but by the rules, you got to have 5 in the category, so they did not distribute that award. So it works both ways.
It does, and that happens at every match. There are times when we order stuff in advance that we end up with excess, and those unfortunately have to get thrown away because the date is on the logo. So if it didn't have that, we could save it for next year.
Gotcha.
Back to along these lines with the category awards, is it just the first place, or is it the same divisional number of entries? I can't remember what it is, 10, 15, 20. Does that apply to the categories or the special categories or not?
Categories are always one deep, and then your class is where we do multiples. So for each class, it's depending upon how many there were, a minimum of 10. And so what we did is if there was 10, we had first place 20, we did first and second. 30, we did first, second, and third. So in one case there was only 29, and the guy who was listed as third place said, hey, I think I'm due a thing, and I had to say, well, unfortunately we needed one more, so I don't have anything for you.
Yeah, I just would. I would just recommend that for the categories, the same rules apply to the division. That's just my opinion. So I'll officially request that, Zach. Although none of those categories apply to me, but I think it'd be cool, especially like the ladies and juniors, and maybe when you start this new adult category, 27 through 49. Yeah, yeah. Then I got a shot. I appreciate that, Zach. You're a good man.
So you want to do like 3 deep or whatever based upon the number of people that are in a category? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I am, especially if you're talking about, youth, and I'm always a fan of giving youth hardware, especially if they earn it. If there's 30 youth shooters and we can award first, second, and third, hey, I'd chip in my own money to pay for those awards. Not that Mike doesn't have deep enough pockets, you know what I mean?
So we'll call it the Steve Foster Jr. Award.
I'm all in. I'm all in.
We can make that happen.
All right, it'll be something nice engraved.
Laser engraved.
Laser engraved.
Do you know a guy with one of those machines, Steve?
Oh, I do, and he's been playing around and having the time of his life.
Yeah, I just saw the video of the TK Superfans gun getting engraved.
Watching that laser is like watching a CNC machine. You can just watch those chips fly all day and never get bored.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk. Do you remember how many awards were given out? I don't know if you actually had an actual count, but it was probably well over 50, don't you think?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't have an actual count right here in front of me.
I just ran the numbers. 633 shooters in the match, or 633 guns, 244 unique shooters, with probably about 50 awards being given out. I think that's pretty good. About 20% of the people got some, or 20% of the guns, got an award.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And everybody that was there or their proxy also got to walk the prize table, and sometimes multiple prize tables. So that was good.
Did you get your koozie?
I didn't, but I actually got a grab bag, and I was just happy as can be with the stuff that was inside of it. So.
A lot of that stuff that was in the grab bag was also out there on the save tables. A lot of that was provided by Hoppies. And I know a number of times I'd walk by and I'd see people, either doing a quick clean of their gun or a quick bore snake, or I personally like the lead wipes, keeping your hands clean. Whether or not I actually had lead in my hands, I don't know, but I just like clean hands, and so I appreciated those. Nice
Definitely.
touch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got. I didn't try it yet, but I got one of those magazine loaders. I saw one guy in our squad using them one afternoon, and it looked really neat. It looks like an easy way to load your 9mm mag. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
Different than the classic one I think a lot of people have, which is the Up Lula. A little different.
Yes. Yeah,
Nice.
It is. This one, you insert the magazine and it locks into place, and then you've got like a little, it reminds me of a pair of scissors, if you will, the handle on scissors that you squeeze, and then you put the bullet down in there.
Well, that's cool. We're gonna need a live FaceTime video on the first use of that. Okay, get on that,
Okay.
will you, please?
Yeah, I'll knock it out. No problem.
Well, one question we did ask Mike, and we're going to ask you again, because you'll be involved in getting the match set up on Practice Square, I'm sure, is, so the match is the 14th through the 18th of April. When do you think the registration's going to open?
Well, Mike leaked it last week, so I'm basically going to confirm his leak and provide a little bit of additional detail. So Saturday, December the 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern is when registration will open up. I've already got the match listed on Practice Score. We've already gotten the, even though we run the match, we still go through the process. So I've submitted the application for the match through Practice Score, not through Practice Score, but through USPSA, and that's been approved and all that. So we're ready to go.
Good. So December 5th at 8 a.m.
No, p.m. yeah, a.m. Yeah,
I said that for Kurt Grimes and all our California friends.
I was going to say, our West Coast friends already hate me for the time, so I tried to be nice to them and move it from 7 to 8 to give them a little extra time to get home from the range on Saturday so they can shoot. So they can shoot their match and get home and register.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, talking about registration, and Mike, we also talked to him about that. There's a lot of people that shoot multiple guns. Steve, how many did you shoot at this match?
I shot 5.
You shot 5. Zach, how about you?
3.
And I shot 8.
Right.
Now, I added 2 later on when spots opened up, but on the day it opened, I put in 6. And I don't remember the stats, but 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, the match was sold out, or pretty close to sold out.
Pretty
this
close,
year.
yeah. I don't think it completely filled the first night of registration, but it didn't take long. I mean, the weekend always fills almost instantly.
Right.
And then, we work backwards into the week to fill as we need to. But I also know people that will purposely take the Wednesday or Thursday slot because it's easier for them to squad with their buddies. And
Sure.
So a group from Ohio did that specifically this year. It's like, John Maple and all of his teammates squatted on Thursday because they said, hey, we can get all of our team or all the members that we want to squad together to do that. So that works well. I mean, it would be nice if we could have enough room for everybody to shoot only on the weekends, but we only have so much daylight and things like that, so not everybody can shoot on the weekend.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate for myself where I'm just trying to get in the match, but there's some people with 2 shooters in a family or even more, and on those morning squads they could take up the whole squad almost. With only 8 guns being on a morning squad, and if they wanted to shoot together, definitely be tough. So we talked to Mike, and there's been rumblings about the whole grocery cart registration. What's your take on that?
Well, that's something that Practice Corps and Ken Nelson and his staff are keenly aware that we want and we need and why we need it. And Mike mentioned that we all go home with a punch down list of things that we need to work on for next year. That's one that's on my list. So I have been in touch with Ken Nelson, and we talked about the process again, and he said that he was going to meet with his team and get back to me with the latest status on that. So so we're still working on it, and hopefully it's something that we will have in time for registration this year. I mean, if you think about it, we're not talking about a whole lot of time before registration opens. It's already October, and we're going to open it up in December. So hopefully we'll have it, but I can't make any promises.
Well, if not, I forget who it was. It might have been Stephen Hart or somebody. I've heard a number of people say this, on December 5th, I'm going to have 5 windows open, ready to start going and getting all my guns registered.
Right, and I think you were the one who said that you register every gun as ISR and then change the division later because that's the first on the list or whatever. Actually, I think carry optics is listed first. But
yeah, that was one of my secrets. Just whatever defaults, get it in and get a slot, and then you can go back and edit that later to the gun you want. So It'll be interesting to see, after day 1, we've got 75 ISR shooters.
Yeah, exactly.
How was your registration experience, Steve?
Oh, I told you on the podcast with Foley, I just got to re-up my Prozac and get ready to do it. It's very stressful. And it is so, because I live, thanks for bringing that up, Zach. Yeah, I live out in the country, so I can have a home range, and the internet is not the best.
There it is.
But,
there it is. Every episode.
Yeah,
every episode.
You like that? You like that? You like that?
There's a trade-off. Which would you rather have, fast internet or a home range?
Yep. So I've got a steady DSL, so it's actually been reliable, but boy, it's not the fastest thing you've ever seen. So I
don't have a home range, but I have fast internet. So
yes, you do. Yes, you do, sir. So I'm a huge proponent of having it similar to the USPSA with some of the bigger matches. You have to classify or participate in other matches in order to qualify and get sent an entry, and you sign up and it's less stressful.
You're talking about pre-registration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Again, I think the a la carte's going to be, or grocery cart is going to be nice, but that's just going to get your guns in. There's still the issue of getting on the squads, and I'm not sure if that's going to be part of it. We're just going to have to wait and see when that comes out, how that's going to work. And hopefully it'll work well.
I hope so. I don't know exactly how they'll implement it. I mean, I'm obviously not part of the practice score development team and not participating in any of the development team meetings. But, based upon the conversations that we have, they do have a clear understanding of what we want, and hopefully we'll to provide it for us.
Sounds good. So
All right, Zach.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say the other comment that I read out on Facebook was from Zach Grubb. He wants to know what's going to happen to the peak times next year. Zach, what do you have to say about all that?
Well, I used this comment when we were talking on the pre-World Speed Shoot, and that is I have no comment. And that's because I promised Zach last night that we wouldn't talk about it. So I'm going to keep my word.
Okay. All right. We'll talk after we're done recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll turn off the recording.
I will say this, that the rules require us to perform a review after the World Speed Shoot, and we will perform that review. So there, I'm in compliance with the rules, and I didn't break my promise to Zach.
Well, I've actually done the analysis. I've done the analysis, and we've yet to set the meeting. I will say this. The new peak time for rimfire rifle open will not be 56 seconds.
That's too bad.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it.
Bigger than a bread box,
Yeah.
smaller than a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, let's touch base on the peak times. In many of these divisions, the shooters have just taken it to a whole new level. And we have to realize, rimfire rifle and the rifle divisions have only been around for 5 or 6 years tops. I think PCC is only 4 years. The other divisions have had 31 years of shooters in them. And so that's why they tend to have normalized a little better. And with the addition of these new divisions, people are taking them to an entirely new level of ability. And, as Zach said, we'll review the scores and see what the changes are. And all we can do is make the recommendation. It's Mike and the board that will ratify that recommendation. So don't kill the messenger.
Right. Yeah. And one other thing, we'll point out too is that the rules say that we will perform a review. Period. So if we perform our review, we have met our requirement per the rules.
There you go.
Who knows what will happen?
So let me ask you this, Zach, and I know there's an approval process and all that kind of stuff. So let's say this review happens and there's going to be a change or there's going to be no changes. When do you anticipate an announcement, of course, on the Steel Target Paint podcast to be made?
Sometime after Nationals.
Yeah.
I think Mike's time right now is a commodity that's not available. So I would say at least sometime after the Nationals have finished. This is my opinion. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, because Mike is so busy with everything with that, and plus he takes the results of the review and presents it to the board and things like that, and then the board approves the change, and then we publish it in the rules for the next year. So
Got it.
All right, so we asked Mike this question, and we've talked a lot about what's been good, but like if you had to change one thing, and Mike said what he wants to change, but if you could change one thing to improve the match, what do you think that would be?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, because there's a lot of little things that we can do to make it better. Mike hit on it where we didn't have quite the registration staff that we needed to have. So we're going to work on making that better for next year. I know one. I won't go monkeying around with what squad starts on what stage, because that did present a few little problems when when they decided that we were going to move Accelerator from where it has been down to the end. So when I set up the match for 2021, I did set it up in mind that we're going to have Tent City in the middle and that Accelerator will be down on the end past Roundabout. So when you see squatting, you will see that now next year, instead of Outer Limits being, squad 5, 15, 25, so forth, it's going to be squad 4, 14, 24. And let me just mention that too, because some people say, well, why are these squads numbered like this? Basically, all you have to do, if everything's lined up the way it should be, is just drop the first number. So if you're on squad number 11, you drop the first number, you start on stage 1. Squad 12 starts on stage 2, 13 on 3, and so forth. I try to keep things as simple so I can keep track of it, because when you've got a match that's got 10 flights in it, you kind of have to break it down into simple things. At least I do.
Yeah, simple's always better. All right, so that was really good. I mean, I think, I wanted to touch a lot about, what it takes to put on a match this size, because, again, like I said, there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are putting on matches. And I know, we've done refinement, some of it based on your input and help for the West Florida match. And so I appreciate that. And again, it's Zack, Z-A-C-K, at USPSA.org. If you've got any questions. Of course, if you don't know that email, how do you not know that email? Because I'm sure you get thousands of emails a day, right, Zach?
No, only $9.99.
Okay.
And $9.98 are from Jeff.
Yeah. But no, I do get emails from match directors and club contacts and things like that, asking about this or that or the other. And one of the questions that comes up often is like, how in the world do you manage a match like the World Speed Shoot? Because it's so big. It's we've set world records for attendance and things like that at the match. And what I explained to them is that, okay, we have 10 flights in the match. So don't look at it over, an enormous match. Think of it as 10 8-stage club matches that just so happen to run back to back to back to back over multiple days. And when you break it down into smaller, manageable chunks like that, then it doesn't seem to be so overwhelming. One of the competitors' wives shot it this year, and she was nervous because she's like, oh, it's a big match and all that kind of stuff. And I told them, I said, tell her that don't think of it that way. Think of it as an 8-stage match, because that's all you need to worry about is those 8 stages when it's your time to shoot.
Yeah.
Good point. And it's the same
Great
stages.
advice.
It's, very different from, say, a USPSA or an IPSC match where, the stages are variable between every match. It's the same 8 stages. One of the things we talked about, Mike, and I hear it every year, and it's always Outer Limits when people walk up to that and go, this isn't right. The stage is set up wrong. And you have to say, stand in the box.
Yeah.
Target the first target. Okay, now, transition horizontally. Are all the plates there? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not this match that's wrong. Maybe you've been shooting it wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
another thing to tell them is stand in the box. Okay, now look at the berm. And notice that where we are standing now, how tall the berm is. Now follow that towards the back of the bay. See how it gets smaller and smaller? So that tells you that it's a wedge shape, or a triangle. And so when they see that, that also helps them to understand why it looks like the plates are sitting on the ground when they're a little bit above it. But Mike hit on it about all the time and effort that goes into the setting up of the stages and things like that. And he's not joking about that. I mean, we literally get out there with tape measures. He takes one, I take another one, and we measure things out. And we have a head start because they have the surveyor's whiskers in the ground. And, we would look at that, and it was funny because Rob was working with us, and Mike was telling Rob, says, Rob, that whisker's off by an inch. Things like that. I mean, we're that anal about the setup. So, like he said, one of the things he kept saying while we were doing our setup, he says, world records are set here. And that sunk in, and it just showed the importance of what we were doing and the pride that we all took into setting up the match so that everything would be perfect, so that world records can be set there. And they certainly were, plenty of them.
Absolutely. All right,
Well,
Steve, anything else you want to add, Zach?
Yeah, I was just going to say thanks again, Zach, for all your efforts. It was great seeing Zach Jr. I can't imagine, I know you make a little bit light of how much work and effort goes into the World Speed Shoot, but as a competitor, I truly appreciated it. It was smooth, it was painless, and well run, so congratulations, sir.
Well, I appreciate that, and I really do want to stress that I'm just one of a team. It's myself, the rest of the senior USPSA staff that are there, and really the hats off goes to the ROs, because while they say, oh, Zach, you put on a great match, my job's easy. Basically, I push buttons on a tablet most of the day. The ROs are out there making sure that the competitors are having a good, fun, safe event, and I can't thank the ROs enough for what they do.
Agreed.
All right, I wanted to give Alex from AMG Labs the timers that we used a shout out, because they are the bomb. If you haven't ever used them, they're the ones that sync to the tablets through Bluetooth, and so the ROs didn't have to punch in numbers. They simply tapped one button and downloaded the time from the timer onto the tablet.
And you know what? Yeah, I'll add something to that. If you've ever used Practice Score Competitor to pull the match down, when the AMG Lab timer is used, your splits are actually pulled into the match as well. And if you go into your division that you're interested in and you see all the stages and there's a bar graph up top, if you touch the bar graph associated with the stage you're looking at, you will actually see your first shot, second, third, fourth, hopefully only fifth, but if you go to 6 or 7, and you're going to see all those splits. So it records all that too. It's quite an impressive feature, and I use it for training all the time. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah, and Alex is a friend of the podcast. He's been on the podcast. Had the opportunity to talk to him down at the West Florida match. He's got some cool things in the works, and the part that I appreciate about Alex, what he's doing with AMG, is the innovation that's going on. He's just not out there throwing out a timer. He wants something that is going to add value to the competitors and the match staff, and yeah, it's pretty cool to see where he's at now, and it'll be interesting to see where he's at a year, maybe 2 years from now, with the innovation, if it keeps up at the rate that it is.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks again for listening. Hope you got some good information about the World Speed Shoot and setting up matches from Zach, our resident stats expert. Zach, thanks for being on.
I may not ever make GM with the gun, but I damn well think I'm a GM with stats.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
You're 150% GM, okay? How's that?
Yeah, we're not going to adjust that peak stage time either.
Somebody say Club 14? Just saying.
There you go. All right.
Good seeing you, Zach.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.